Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome. So I hope everyone's doing well and having a good week so far. So I'm Linda Cogswell. I'm an architectural associate with the city's Public Works Department and project manager for the Marine Park Playground Upgrade Project. I'm joined tonight by my colleagues Amelia Feichner, also with Public Works, Jeanette Gant and Aaron Orozco with Community Services, as well as our design consultants, Mike Bennett and Jill Moore with Landscape Structures, Inc., and Doug Grove, Greg Meek, and Andrew Lytle with RHA Landscape Architects Planners. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. So the playground project proposes to replace the existing playground at Marine Park with a new, inclusive, universally accessible playground. The playground was last reconstructed around 2000, so it's over 20 years old and nearing the end of its lifespan. And it was identified as a priority project in need of replacement. So to avoid any potential closure and to expedite project delivery, we are taking a design build approach, and we hope to complete design and construction by summer of 2022. So tonight's meeting follows a June 17th virtual public meeting that we hosted to review preliminary concepts and obtain input. At that June meeting, approximately 20 Santa Monica residents and stakeholders attended, provided input, asked questions, and voted in polls. So we return to the community tonight to present you with the preferred concept, incorporating what we've heard. The preferred concept proposes standalone shade structures with sails as opposed to shade structures attached to the play equipment. We've added in a sand play area, and we've worked to make refinements to the fencing as well as overall aesthetic. Following tonight's meeting, we'll proceed with developing final plans based on the preferred concept to stay on schedule, and we hope to begin construction before the end of the year. So on a final note for me, for those of you who attended the last meeting, thank you again for your input and thoughtful insights. I also want to thank anyone that emailed me comments following the meeting. We've covered a lot collectively, and I deeply appreciate your participation, just given the challenging times that we're in. So with that, and without further ado, we can get started with the presentation.
Great.
Doug?
Awesome, Linda. Thanks so much. And thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. My name is Doug Grove. I'm the president of RHA Landscape Architects. So we specialize in park planning and playgrounds like this. A little bit of housekeeping. We've got a chat box and a question answer box. If you have a question, go ahead and type it into Q&A. If you go down to the bottom of your screen or top of your screen and hold cursor over, you'll be able to see those pop up and you can type in there. Prefer the questions and answers in the Q&A, not in the chat box, but either way, we'll record the text and keep the comments on file for moving forward. So if we get done with the presentation and we have some time, we can also let some people in to comment verbally if we need to. But we like to keep it in the Q&A because that way we have a good recording of it. So, and then we are recording this meeting, so it'll be able to be viewed later on the YouTube page, and we'll send a link out for that on the city webpage. So today we're going to go over, for some of you who were in the first meeting, some of this will be kind of a little bit of review, but we want to make sure we cover all of this for everybody who maybe didn't get a chance to see the first one. We'll be talking about site location, a little project overview, existing conditions, and then show you the conceptual design that we've arrived at based on all of the input. So I'm going to turn this over to Greg from our office, and he's going to go over kind of the site and some of the elements on the playground.
This is Greg Meek, Principal Landscape Architect at RHA, and I apologize, my camera on my computer went out, so you just got my picture. But what you see before us is a little bit of review if you attended the first meeting. This is the aerial photograph of the park, and just to kind of orient you, there's the bottom of the screen, you see the golf course, and then there's a walking trail across the bottom. The ball fields, the Growing Place preschool, parking lot, restroom, play area, the picnic area, and the basketball court. So the play area is located in the central part of the park, and it's kind of tucked in behind the growing place. So we went out to the site, took a bunch of pictures, analyzed kind of what was going on. And a few of the things that became apparent to us is that it almost seems like you go in the back door when you go to the existing playground. You have to walk through the parking lot and behind the growing place through a gate, and then down across some walkways and down a series of ramps, and that takes you to the play area. And so that was one of the things that we wanted to do, is to create a more direct route to the play area. And so eventually a walkway will go from the sidewalk at the street to the restroom, but the restroom is accessible from the parking lot. And then we created a walkway that went from the restroom that would be south, heading sort of southwest, and then it turns the corner. The parking lot's elevated, turns the corner and heads straight over to the play area. We also added a wider concrete area along the edge of the play area, so we could put some benches in there. And the play area will have a new fence. It's kind of the key things about the play area is it now will have accessible play surfacing, which is a rubberized surface that you can walk right across. So now you don't have to walk around the play area. You can walk through the play area to get to all of the elements, the sand play area and the birthday pavilion. The existing trees are going to remain. We're going to remove move the palm trees that are located in the play area now over kind of between the basketball court and the play area, keeping the big ficus tree. We're adding an access pathway that goes to the ficus tree so it can be maintained and pruned. We're providing a sand play area over in that's sort of the east corner of the site. That's 400 square feet. And what this will do is it'll just help you the traffic move in and out of the play area much more directly and accessible. So when you go through this, it is going to be an all-inclusive playground, but some of the things that you're going to see in the play design is that we were trying to incorporate the Santa Monica beach theme into the play area, and you'll see some of those components: a lifeguard tower, surfboards, a roller coaster panel, Ferris wheel, some other things that kind of tie it into the Santa Monica, feel, or make it kind of more personable. So, but it is an all-inclusive playground that will include a 2 to 5 year old appropriate play area, a 5 to 12 age appropriate play area, some freestanding play events that are, some of them are accessible, and well, actually all of them are accessible because you can get to them on the rubber surfacing. Shade covers that cover almost the whole play area, and swings. Some of the accessibility improvements are the walkways around the play area, the pour in place rubber, and we're also using, where there's a berm now that has a slide coming from it, we're using that as an access point. We're creating a ramp up to the top of that so that you can actually access the upper decks of the play equipment from that, like a bridge that goes across there. So that's kind of a really cool feature. Some of the landscape improvements are we're relocating the palm trees. We're going to be adjusting the irrigation from the new improvements so that they operate properly. We're providing some planting areas that we'll be planting in the future, and then we'll be repairing the turf that gets damaged during construction. So just another review. This is some pictures of the park the way it is now. So you can see there's a couple pictures of the existing restroom. On the right is the area where the path it'll kind of line up with that garage door. And then, yeah, in the middle picture, then it turns the corner and heads to the play area. The elevated access will come from where the top of the berm, where the slide is. The slide will go away, and there'll be a bridge across to the elevated parts of the structure. The palm trees will be moved, and but the elevated stacks, deck and stairs and ramps will remain. A couple more pictures, the existing wood playground equipment. It's located in the sand play area, so it's really not accessible. The sand play area, the small one that's there adjacent to the main play area, which again, we have a sand table, but it's not accessible by wheelchair. There's some 2 to 5 swings. There's the bottom is 2 more pictures of the existing play area and the big ficus tree. And then the mural that's located on the wall is going to remain and be protected in place, because we think it goes with the whole theme of the play area. Now, did we have Jill join us?
Yeah, she
Doug?
did. Yep.
So I'd like to introduce Jill Moore with Landscape Structure. She's a certified playground safety inspector and an inclusive play specialist. And we just like to have her talk to you more about what makes this playground unique in the amount of inclusivity and accessibility that it has. So
Yeah. Yay. Thank you. Sorry, I get too eager. Thanks for putting me in, Coach. No, my name is Jill Moore. I work with Landscape Structures. We're the playground manufacturer, and we're based out of Minnesota. But I myself have grown up with a disability. I'm a full-time wheelchair user, so a lot of these considerations that Greg, that Doug, that this design, Linda, that this group has come up with, that Rec West, just it checks a lot of boxes to make sure that it's truly inclusive for everybody who wants to be here and wants to participate. I mean, even thinking through where the parking lot is and what that parking looks like, thinking through that energy expenditure from how much we have to work to get from our car to the play space itself. So I think we're going to go through a couple of those pictures. Is there something you really wanted me to touch on this? I know
I'll probably go through just a little bit of the site, and then we'll jump back in.
Yeah.
So you can see, as Greg mentioned, we've got the walkway coming from the restroom, comes around here. We've got this black line is the dots is the fence, the low fence. If you look over here in the right side picture, it's similar to the fence that's out there now, but it's going to be black. And then you'll have gates to get in and get out. There'll be some benches. This walkway here is about 8 feet wide, so you have access for strollers, wheelchairs, walkers, whatever, along with some benches in there. These existing stairs are staying. We're going to utilize this berm to get, as Greg mentioned, to access the play equipment. So you can see the play equipment in here. We've got a lot of really cool play surfacing, the light color to kind of represent sand, the green for grass, blue for water, with some really nice sharks and fish and seals and so forth, sea lions that are going to be in there as well. Then you can see the large shade canopies over the top of the play equipment, and then the large sand play area that is kind of in the same area we have now for sand, but we're expanding the size a little bit, and we'll show you some more details there. And then this area here is set aside for a variety of different swing events. So that's kind of a quick overview. I'm going to go to the next slide and I'll talk about, this is the fencing that's there now. We're going to go in with new fencing, but be black so that it kind of blends in a little bit more with the landscape area. This is an existing sand area at Reed Park. So kind of giving you an idea how we're going to have, concrete on the outside, sand on the inside, so you can play in both areas. This is the sand area that is at the existing park right now. This is kind of what we're going to do to convert that. This tree is the same one as here. It'll stay in place. We're going to do a little seat wall between the sand and the play surfacing, because as you probably have seen out there now, sand and rubber surfacing really don't do well together. It's like sandpaper, and it eventually wears it down. So we're going to do this nice seat wall you can sit on both sides. And then what's really cool here is that we have a sand play table that will have concrete extended underneath it. So someone in a wheelchair or even just a mobility device can get up here and play in the sand along with kids that are playing on this side. So it really makes it a lot more inclusionary than what we have out there right now. This is just to give you an idea, not of the play equipment, but kind of what we have going for the shade sales. So this is a park at Ocean Park Boulevard Beach Playground. And so you can kind of see, not from the play equipment standpoint, but from the shade sales, that's the look that we're going to be having at this facility. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jill, and she's going to go through a lot of the play events, and so you can kind of see what's going on. At the very end, we'll show you a fly-through video of the entire play equipment structures. You can kind of really get a close-up of everything that's going on.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug. The sand feature I'm particularly excited about. I think that's one of those really subtle nuances that go into design that make it that much more impactful, of being able to roll a wheelchair underneath that and not worry about your front wheels taking a dive into the sand. That's a bummer. And I see we do have a question. I mean, I assume you mean a child-sized wheelchair. It fits a very wide range of varieties. That is something that went into the product development of that piece in particular, is really taking a look at what that height is underneath. I'd have to find you the specific numbers, but I know it is pretty child-friendly that they can fit as well. And getting into some of the pieces of the actual play space, we have some accessible components, which I think is great, especially for kids who are not transferring out of their wheelchairs or mobility aids. We see that we go around up front. That's completely seamless for a person to enter. So they are able to just roll on and participate in the spinning. There is a part in the middle there that allows us to help contribute with that motion and get it spinning as well as some empty seats if we want to be the one just enjoying the motion, if we're on vacation or a break, as one of the kids told me when I was not spinning it fast enough. So lots of spaces and ways to choose how we want to interact with this thing. And I think that's one of those really, really awesome, just universal pieces that don't require that transfer. We also see the Bobble Rider. That's great for kids who are working on that sensory development. A lot of the things we look at when we look at inclusive play spaces in particular is that typically kids with autism, sensory processing, developmental disorders, they need more practice for sensory experiences. So to what might look like just a climber, what might be regular, just a climbing event or a motion event, that's actually part of the inclusive formula, is making sure that there's those things of motion, of muscle coordination, muscle movement, muscle input. That's sensory foundations that we're helping build for a lot of these kids with different developmental disorders. If you want to hop to the next picture. Yep, so we've got the lifeguard tower, which is, again, is just such a cool way to commemorate the area, but also there's a lot of fun things going on there of exploration. We have that transfer module to where if you have a child who is transferring out of their mobility aid, they can get to the top. They can participate in that imaginary play. But there's also easy ways for kids who are developing those climbing skills, who need that additional sensory input, that building a muscle memory, lots of different ways for them to do that as well.
And if you just, in these plans that you saw about in the lower left-hand corner is a little mini site plan with the big red arrow. That's the view that we're looking at. So you can kind of get in line with what you're seeing on the rendering.
Layla, I'm reading your question. Child-sized wheelchair is smaller. Yes, they are. I never got a child-sized wheelchair. I'm pretty bitter about that. They gave me just a regular old person wheelchair. But that is something we really do consider, is making sure that those who are a little smaller can still ride up to the plate and be a part of that participation. So I think you'll find that it should still be able to work. And a lot of the shade going into this is also something I want to point out as an inclusive element. I mean, no one's ever going to complain about having too much shade, but this is something from an inclusive perspective that it goes beyond just that layer of comfort and also into safety. These are kids who are on medications that may not allow them to regulate heat or their level of injury. So that shade is just that additional layer of inclusion for comfort and safety. And we have this ramp structure that looks like a ton of fun. I am a huge proponent that ramps to nowhere really stink. So having a ramp that takes you on a journey, that you're going through the Santa Monica Pier, that there's lots to do along the way while you do so, that's a great way to do this. That's a great way to commemorate that success. And something I love pointing out about this structure is sometimes we see in the playground world, my biggest pet peeve is when we put play elements on the ramp itself. And so I bear in mind that this isn't something we see here, that a child with a disability, if they stop to play with something, they're not going to be an obstacle to anybody else. So there's lots of rich climbing. There's the motion of the slide. There's this belted climber. You see this black piece here. That helps kids who are transferring out of their wheelchair. That is a great way to build those motor coordination skills. We want to encourage kids to practice their transfers, to climb through the play space, figure out the equipment, traverse the space. And it's not going to be immediately intuitive, but that's a really, really fun way to get those things that kids are already having to practice in physical therapy. So lots of different ways that we're incorporating that kind of stealth health fun, but it also takes you up to a really high height. I mean, you get that larger than life, you get the thrill of being up top feeling, which kids with disabilities, anybody of any ability really just enjoys to have that on top of the world. And this, I think, is just adorable. I mean, I'm a big fan of that. But we have a variety of swings, which I think is a great sensation because it really, one of the things we really preach in inclusion is just the power of choice, of knowing what might be designed, what might be there to support us, but also what we really gravitate to. And so a lot of kids with sensory processing disorder, autism, developmental disorders, they're going to gravitate towards this oodle swing, this saucer swing here on the left. And what that's going to do is the way their weight sits in that is it feels enclosed. It kind of gives them this sense of where they're at in space and makes them feel more sheltered. So all the time, this is a really, really big hit with the community of autism and sensory processing disorders because of that. And that provides that sensory input we want to give kids for when they start to get really, really overwhelmed. This is something that's going to help them re-regulate and calm back down and just enjoy and integrate into the play space. So we have that swing, but we also have the availability of others to where you can kind of choose of, all right, where's your engine running that day? What's your best fit for you? And being able to gravitate towards what is honestly going to make your play experience the most meaningful.
I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a fly-through video so you can kind of get an idea. This will be going through, and then at that point, then we can still answer some questions and so forth. So you can see here where the ramp goes up towards that area then, and where the Santa Monica Pier, that's where the little ramp goes onto the structure, and we'll be going that route here in a second. There's your sand play area with the sand table underneath the tree, and so yeah, I saw a question about shade for the sand. That tree provides quite a bit of shade for that area, so it should be good. This is the existing ficus tree that'll stay there, and then you can see on this side we've got the transfer module to get up on that part of the playground if you don't want to use the ramp section. And then the 2 to 5 that Jill was talking about with the transfer module and the slide that we go around as we go wide. So here's the traveling up the ramp to the top of the existing berm, and then this is where that existing slide is. So we're changing that out, and this is the ramp that Jill mentioned. It takes you onto the structure itself. A variety of ways.
Ooh, something I would love to point out here, if you can kind of see, they're actually using the deck as a transfer platform for that slide. And this is really, really great. It's pretty subtle, but it's one of those things that makes a really, really big difference for, oh, yep, you had it right there. For a child with a mobility aid, this is somewhere we can pull up to the side of this. We're able to slide out of our chair. It meets us halfway and able to get ourselves oriented in space and go down that slide when we're ready to. So it's less of an up-down kind of situation.
You can see a variety of panels on the walls and so forth that allow you to do activities besides just doing the slides and so forth. So those, quite a few of those areas. And the cool thing here is you can get all the way to this part of the play equipment without, being in a chair or on a walker, which is really cool. So, over 80% of the structure seems to be accessible that way. And this is the large slide, spiral slide coming down.
And if you look to the left there, you have the underside of that deck. That's great for kids who might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, be kind of overly sensory input, and they need that sense to get re-regulated. That's an awesome spot. Having those cozy areas like the inside of the lifeguard tower or the underside of a deck, that is a great place to go for respite and kind of get yourself back together, have your time in, and then head back towards play when you're ready to.
Here's the different swings we talked about in the sand accessibility. And then that red Ferris wheel is just a climber, so kids can climb up and do whatever they want on that, up, around, and sideways. So that's what we have. So I haven't seen any more questions come up. We're going to type them in. Looks like we've kind of covered most of them.
Yeah, I tried to get to as many as I could. Mary, for your question about people walking their dogs, do you mean they walk their dogs through the park to Dewey Street, which is in between the golf course and the park? I don't know if there's a way.
Talking about which way, about going
Yeah,
That-
I'm not really sure. The question.
The timeline, oh, for Linda, what's the schedule again for this overall schedule? I don't remember off the top.
Yeah, so following this meeting, we're hoping to proceed with final design and develop the final plans so that we can start construction before the end of the year and have the park or the playground completed by summer of 2022.
So Mary's saying yes through the park. So go back.
Yeah, I know that there, by the ball fields, there's a fence or gate that stays open most of the time. And so people come in from the path to the south, and then they come in kind of by the ball, between the ball fields and the basketball
Right here.
area. Yeah, through there. So because there's a fence around the play area, I think that will help keeping, if dogs are concerned in the play area, that will help keep them out of there. But unless that gate's closed, I don't know
Yeah.
that they would stop coming through.
Right, so I think that a path through the parkway will always exist for people who, walk their dogs and, if maybe they like walking through the park. I do know that dirt path, I believe it's 16th Street. So in the city's pedestrian action plan, that has been called out as something that could be improved in the future. That could be, like a designated pathway that people can take. And so right now it doesn't have lighting, it's not ADA accessible. So that's something that could happen in the future that people may prefer to take rather than walk through the park. I hope that answers your questions or maybe helps to clarify.
All right. Well, you still have a chance if you wanted to send comments in via email, you can do that. Like I said, we'll post the fly-through video and the renderings we have on the city website. There'll be a link to the video, and we'll also put a video of this presentation we did on the YouTube page as well, so you can go back and watch that, or if you have friends that wanted to see it and weren't able to attend, they can click on that link and watch the whole presentation. So. But if there's no other questions, then I think we're going to be done.
All right.
Really, thank you for
Thank you,
attending.
everyone.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for joining.
Layla, if you're still here, Layla, I am gonna do some digging and make sure proper elevation for making sure getting under that sand table. I found a bunch of pictures of it on our library, and it looks like it does accommodate smaller chairs and smaller mobility aids. So you should be good. I'm triple checking for you. I want you to know, but I think it should be set for different sizes.
Jill, I can send you the spec sheet on that. We can also make adjustments with your input.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
All righty.
Mary asked why we can't be heard in this presentation. We tried to keep it all in typing so we can record everything that's going on in text, but if you had a real nagging question, I can let you in and you can ask it. So there you go, Mary, you're free to, unmute yourself first, but you're free to ask what you need to say. I don't think she's. Oh,
Hello?
sorry, I just unmute yourself again. I got clicked. There
Do
you
you
go.
hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Hello, hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, good. I'm so glad. I missed the very first meeting that you had, and being a longtime native of Santa Monica and raised all my children, and now I'm raising the second generation with my grandchildren and going to the park very frequently. I'm sorry that I bombarded you with all these questions.
Okay.
And I've got some answers back. But one of the questions is I heard that about the dog, because I guess apparently there's a dog area like over there by the golf course, that area. Is there? Where they go and walk the dog, or there's a pathway there between like a fence from between the golf course and the park. There's a fence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a path that people like to take because it's, it's kind of like set back from the street but it's not a designated dog path or dog area.
Because I've seen
Yeah.
in the evening when I go, many of times I've gone and I've seen people with their pets with off the leash, playing catch with a ball and
Mm.
letting them do whatever they want in the sandbox. And I get it. That's their children. That's their babies. I understand that. But at the same time, the children I've noticed, not just my grandchildren, but I've noticed other children, they will be hesitant. They will not go toward the area where those dogs are.
Mm.
So I'm wondering, is there a way and let me tell you, I know there's a sign there, and I almost had it out with one man that was playing catch with his dog, and I mean playing right there in the grass area, like toward the baseball area. And I mentioned to him, I go, excuse me, I think you need to have him on a leash. And he said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I go, yes, I think you have to have him on a leash. I don't think that's permitted. And he said, where's the sign? And I go, there's one right here by the hall. And he goes, you know what? I've been doing this for many, many, many years. And you're the first person that has ever told me anything. And I was just, I just looked at him and he kept at it. He even threw the ball toward my way. It was unfortunate. It was funny. And I was like, okay, wait, if that dog comes and he bites me, that'll be it. But either way, the dog was a beautiful dog and very nice and sweet. He didn't bite me and he returned back to his owner. But what I'm thinking is there any way possible that if you're thinking of building a path, if there could be a pathway to go to where all of them go that area to walk their dogs, but they go through the park. And then again, some of them stay in the park and in the sand area. And I have never have I seen a park ranger come that way until that day that I had to call myself dispatch and they sent somebody over. Hello, are you there?
We're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so
Sorry,
in
thought I
the
lost
park, you are, I was just formulating what I was thinking, my thoughts. So you are required to have your dog on leash at
Mhm.
Marine
Well,
Park.
yeah.
You did the right thing to call. If you see someone without, their dogs are off leash, you can call animal control or what you did.
Mhm.
And then I think, what I mentioned for this park specifically, the 16th Street, I think, has a really good chance of becoming an improved pedestrian pathway in the future. And so I think that when that project happens, it would help to alleviate some of your concerns. But having said that, as a dog owner, Marine Park is just a really nice park. And I do see people with their dogs on leash, wanting to walk through it. So I think the best that we can do is, hope that the fencing that we're putting in will keep dogs off leash outside of the play area, and it'll at least keep the play area and the children at the playground, safe, and and just hope that people become aware that they're required to have their dogs on leash.
Well, that's not happening, and that's not going to happen, I don't think. If there's any way possible, if you could have, like, in that pathway or walkway that you're planning to create, big signs, have your dogs on a leash. And also, I know that you don't have that many people working at this present time because of COVID or whatever. I mean, I don't see the park ranger visiting the park as often as they should. I mean, because I could tell you right now, and this is not my imagination. I have seen sleazy people come into the park and they live out of their cars and they come and they go way towards the corner of the park area and they stay there and they're smoking that spice stuff and they have their dogs and of course they don't have them on leashes. So I was just hoping that maybe if there's any way, if you can get in touch with
Yeah,
the Santa Monica PD and have the park rangers frequently visit the park. I mean, literally get out of their car, make a walkthrough, and have it like at different intervals of the day, if possible, to make it more safer for the children. And it's funny because because it's been so hot, and we'll go to the park in the evening hours, and we'll stay as soon as it starts getting close to 8:20 when it's getting black outside. We'll head home, but it's cooler outdoors than in the house because we don't have air conditioning. And that's what I'm trying to say. If you know, and I do see families there with their children, not just myself. So I was wondering if you can have the coordinate with the Santa Monica PD park rangers if they could make their runs through there.
so I can, so for any non-playground specific comments, but park related comments that I'm getting, I am documenting them. And so I will share your comments with the
Oh,
appropriate
wonderful.
staff.
Thank you. And I know that
Yeah.
you have nothing to do with
But I'm
that.
sorry, like
But-
it's difficult for us to respond since this is really focused on the playground.
Yeah,
I can
and if you
say
could
that,
if you could build those signs and put them where they're visible, because I know you have one sign and it's over by the hall. And like I said, this man with his dog and tossing
Yeah.
the ball was way over by close to the baseball field, within the park
we
area
can,
on the grass.
yeah, we can look into additional signage to, if there are places that would warrant like some good signage, we can definitely look into that.
Now, will the basketball courts be still there, or are you going to remove them? Because I heard word that you're going to do a pickleball. And to be honest with you, a lot of people don't play pickleball. I know this must be like a new thing that they're trying to create, and it's going to be like maybe for companies or
Yeah,
But
I
at the
don't
same time-
know. I don't
Linda,
know the
I'm
latest
happy
on the.
to answer that
Okay.
question. Hi, Mary.
Okay.
I'm Jeanette. I'm the community recreation manager with the city. The basketball courts are set to remain as basketball courts. However, you are correct. The Recreation and Parks Commission did write a letter to City Council recommending that one of those courts be repurposed to a pickleball court. However, that direction has not been given from City Council to staff. So in order to not delay the basketball repairs any further, we're moving forward with the necessary repairs and keeping them as solely basketball courts. But a lot of your
Wonderful.
comments that I'm
Wonderful.
hearing here tonight, Mary, would be well received by the Recreation and Parks Commission, which meets monthly if you're interested. We'd be happy to provide you with information on how to provide comment at those meetings.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yes, of course.
Okay, we'd be
Do
happy
you-
to do that.
Do I send you my email, or how do I do it?
Linda, are we taking
You
emails
can-
on this?
If you put your
Um,
email in the chat, we can get that, or you can email,
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
yeah, then we'll have that saved, right?
Great, and I'll make sure to send you the information regarding Recreation and Parks Commission meetings.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry for being so vocal. It's just that, born and raised in Santa Monica, I have been to all the parks. I have 5 kids. They're grown now, and now I got my grandkids. So it's like, second generation going through here. So yeah, so I just, want to make it known that I have a lot of input. because I've been there, done that, and I've seen it all. So, and especially the bathrooms. Are you still going to keep the bathrooms like way over there?
Yes, there's not,
In the corner, there's not going to be any extra bathrooms like in the park itself, because that one seems to be catering towards the baseball area. And only because when my grandkids are there in the play area, all of a sudden they go, I want to go to the bathroom. I got to go now. And it's like, okay, we got to make a mad dash clear over to the other side. So is there like any way you're going to make another bathroom within the park area itself, like at the back of the growing place? A little bathroom could be implemented right there. I mean, because that little space right there, walkway thing, is, no one's using it, to be honest with you.
Well,
Right.
Mary, we are adding a direct walkway that goes directly from the restroom to the play area, so they don't have to go through the parking lot. So I think they're going to find it improved. I know it won't be right there, but it'll be a lot more easily accessible.
The budget just doesn't allow us to add it. Restrooms are about couple $100,000 to put in with plumbing, and so that would expend a good portion of the budget, so.
It's not on the budget. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so very much, and I
Thank you.
appreciate all of you taking the time to do this. And like I said, I totally missed the first meeting, and I said this time I'm going to be on it.
Thanks, Mary. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. You're
Okay.
welcome. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Mary.
All right. Well, again, thanks for joining us tonight. And again, we'll have all this stuff up on the website tomorrow or Monday. So if you have more things, you can check it there. You can also email Linda at the city too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Great presentation.
Have a good evening.